once Amir al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, as he was taking his routine tour that he usually used to take during the night time and then early morning around the streets of Medina Munawwara, to see if there are any people that are in need of anything, looking for needy people, for people that are in hardships, difficulties, to try to help those kind of people. And at the same time, early morning was the time when many of the travelers would enter Medina Munawwara. And of course, keeping in mind that travelers were coming to Medina Munawwara from all around the world, as Khilafah had spread all over. So people were coming with letters, messages, newses, needs, whatever else was there from the governors throughout the Khilafah Islamiyya. So Umar radiallahu anhu is walking through the streets of Medina Munawwara. One of his helpers was with him, whose name was Salim. Salim says Umar radiallahu anhu, as he got tired, he sat down against the wall of a house, leaning against the wall. So while he's sitting there, he heard a conversation that was going on inside the house. The conversation was going on between a mother and her daughter. Mother says to her daughter, "أخلط اللبن بالماء." Mix some water in the milk. So the daughter replies that we can't do it anymore. She says, why? She said, didn't you hear that Umar radiallahu anhu, Amir al-Mu'mineen, have announced that we are not allowed to do it anymore? He said, yes, but Umar can't see us. He won't know that we did it. So the daughter replied, إن كان عمر لا يرانا فإله عمر يرانا. If Umar cannot see us, Lord of Umar is watching us. And on the day of judgment, we won't be standing before Umar, we will be standing before the Lord of Umar. Umar radiallahu anhu said to Salim that make sure that you remember this house. Later on in the day, he said to me, investigate who lives in that house. And I found out it was a mother. She was widow, and her young daughter. He asked me if the daughter was married. I told him no, she is not married yet. Umar radiallahu anhu gathered his sons. He said, if any of you is interested in getting married, I have a good girl for him. So his son Asim said, okay, I would go for it. And finally, Asim was married to that girl that was stopping her mother from mixing water with the milk. Before going any further with this, let's see how they used to look for the right people. Normally, our method of looking for a husband or a wife, for a spouse, is totally different. We are looking at totally different things than what those people were looking at. Here, she's an orphan. She doesn't have a father. The only thing that Umar radiallahu anhu knows about this family is what the conversation that he heard while he was sitting out there. That tells him that this girl has the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She has the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That even when she is by herself, she would not do anything against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She is not practicing deen for people, she is practicing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He saw the taqwa there. And that was the thing they used to look for. And subhanallah, after marriage, Umar radiallahu anhu says to his son Asim, Asim, you got it. In your progeny, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring a person that will do a great service to this deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Asim had a daughter from this woman. This daughter of Asim is the son of Umar bin Khattab. Daughter of Asim was married to a person called Abdul Aziz. Who was this Abdul Aziz? If you heard the name Marwan bin al-Hakam. The first person to rule, who took the rule after Muawiyah bin Yazid. Muawiyah bin Yazid bin Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu. Muawiyah radiyallahu anhu was the ruler. Then Yazid. And then Yazid's son Muawiyah took the rule for about 2 weeks. And then he said to people, he was known for his virtuousness, for his salah, for his taqwa. So after ruling for 2 weeks, he said to people that I'm not suitable for this position. I will leave it up to you people to decide whoever you want to choose as a Khalifa, and I'm resigning from this position. And he resigned. And at that time, after that, then Marwan bin al-Hakam, Abdullah bin Zubayr in Arabia, and Marwan bin Hakam in Sham, and those places, he became the ruler. And finally, until they took over, Abdullah bin Zubayr radiyallahu anhu, and Marwan bin al-Hakam became the ruler. Marwan bin al-Hakam had many sons. One of his sons was Abdul Malik bin Marwan, who became the ruler after Marwan bin al-Hakam. Another son of Marwan bin al-Hakam was Abdul Aziz bin Marwan. He was the governor of Egypt during the time when his brother Abdul Malik was the king and was the ruler. The daughter of Asim was married to this governor of Egypt, Abdul Aziz bin Marwan, who is the brother of the ruler of the time. Abdul Aziz was known for his virtuousness. Abdul Aziz had a son from this girl, from this woman. He named that son Umar. And this Umar turned out to be the person that all the scholars agree that he was the mujaddid of the first century, the reformer of the first century, as we know him as Umar bin Abdul Aziz Rahimahullah. That he is also known as the 5th Khalifa of Islam. They even call him the second Umar. Before going into the Khilafah of Umar, how did he rule? What did he do at that time? What made him to get to that status of becoming the 5th Khalifa? And they say that as there are 4 Khulafa al-Rashideen, he would be the 5th of those Khulafa. This is the type of government that he was running at that time, and this is how he ruled the people at that time, with justice, bringing the deen back into the lives of people. And during his time, as inshallah we will go through it, they say that during the time of Abdul Malik, people used to talk about politics, and they used to talk about buildings. That how can we have a nice building, what are the different designs. And during the time of Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the only conversation you used to hear, even from normal people, is about the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and about the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what the general atmosphere of the whole Islamic government was at that time. according to